Brachas Perek Daled Mishnah Aleph. The first three prakim of the Masechta so far discussed Hilchas Kriya Shema and the Birkas Kriya Shema. From this parak and the next parak we're going to be discussing Hilchas Tefillah, which is Shemini Esrei. So many Rishonim hold that there's a chiyuv of Tefillah every day, and that's midivrei Sefer. And the Gemara says on Daf Chav Aleph in Brachas and on Daf Lamed Ches in Sukkah that Tefillah is midrabanan. But the Rambam holds the mitzvah min haTorah. And this is the lashon of the Rambam, Parak Aleph, in Hilchas Tefillah Halacha Aleph. Mitzvah sasei le'espal b'chol yom. It's a mitzvah sasei to daven every day. Shenemar v'avaretem Hashem alekeichem. You should serve Hashem your God. Mipei Shmuel lamdu, the Chachamim learned shavodah zuhi tefillah. That this avodah that's referring to in the pasuk is tefillah shenemar l'avdei b'chol levavchem. Amru Chachamim, ezehi avodah shebelev zu tefillah. What is avodah shebelev? That is tefillah. The ein minyan hatfilas min haTorah. The amount of tefillas that you daven on a daily basis, that's not min haTorah. The ein Mishnah hatfilah hazais min haTorah, and the matbeya hatfilah is also not min haTorah. The ein letfilah zman kavua min haTorah, and tefillah does not have a set time in haTorah. Elo chiyuv mitzvah zu kachu. This is the chiyuv of the mitzvah. Sheyehei odam mischanen u'mispala b'chol yom. That person should beg and beseech HaKadosh Baruch Hu and daven every day, and also be magid shvachas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That he should talk about the shevach avodah that he has to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And after he's magid shvachas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'achakach shoyel tzrachav shu tzarach lembe b'kasha b'tchina. Then he's mevakish from HaKadosh Baruch Hu everything that he needs. And then after he asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu for whatever he needs, he gives haidah and shvach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on all the good that he already has. And each person does this kifi koichai. If he was rugil, if he was a person that used to daven, that he knows what he's doing when he's davening and he's accustomed to davening, then he's marbe b'tchina b'akasha. Then he could daven as much as he wants, and for more things that he needs, if he can articulate it. If he had difficulty articulating the words and his thoughts of the things that he needs to daven for, medaber k'fi chaltai, to each on his own level. A person can speak on his level also. Yesh mispal pamachas b'yom. There's some people who daven once a day. Yesh mispal and pamim harbe, and there are people that daven many times a day. V'chein hoya hadavar tamid Moshe Rabbeinu vad Ezra, and so it was constantly from the days of Moshe Rabbeinu till Ezra HaSefer. Kevan shagolu Yisrael b'mei Nebuchadnezzar harasha. Once the Nebuchadnezzar took the Yidden into Golus, nisarvu b'paras v'Yavan, they got mixed into the Greeks and the Persians, Bishara Umis and the other nations, and their children were born and raised in non-Jewish lands, and those children didn't speak the Hebrew language, Lashon Kodesh, that the parents spoke. And everybody spoke a different language that was mixed together, a little bit of Jewish and a little bit of the national language, of the native language of where they were living. It could happen that when a person was davening, so it'll be difficult for him to express his tefillah in his mother tongue, in his normal language that he speaks. And not only would it be difficult for him to articulate the words of the tefillah in his own language, he could be fine articulating, but sometimes he may have difficulty. He may not speak Lashon HaKodesh so well. Maybe he'll get mixed up and he'll start saying a little bit of English in his tefillah together with Lashon HaKodesh. He doesn't remember the title of all the words in Lashon HaKodesh, meaning he doesn't know how to translate the English into Lashon HaKodesh. Kevan Shara Ezra Beis Dinakach, since Ezra and his Bezin saw this, Amdu v'tiknu lahem shmena Ezra brachas ala seder. He was masakin for them 18 brachas with a specific order. Shalosh Rishonos, the first 3 brachas, which is the bracha of Avos, the bracha of Mechai and Ata Kadosh, are Rishevach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Shalosh Achronos, the last 3, which are Ritzei and Moedim and Sim Shalom, that's the bracha of Haidah. And the Mtzayos, the middle brachas, that's where you ask for all the things. All a person's needs, any kind of personal need, even though some of the brachas seem pretty general, all the brachas are like an av, are like a father, are like a basis, where all the needs of any person and any tzibur needs lies in these brachas. And the reason is that everybody should be familiar with these lashonos of tefillah to be able to say them when they need to say them, and everybody can learn them easily. And the people who have difficult tongues, that's what alogim are. People who have a difficult time speaking or articulating or pronouncing the words, their tefillah can be a tefillah shlema, a complete tefillah, just like the tefillah of the people that have a lashon tzachar, a beautiful way of expressing themselves, the easier way of expressing themselves. So even if a person doesn't speak lashon hakodesh at all, but he'll practice davening and he'll get familiar with the words of Shemoneh Esrei, and that's what he'll say, and that's how he'll be able to daven. The amount of tefillos that we say during the day is keneged the amount of the karbanos. Shtei tefillos b'chol yom keneged shnei tmidin. You have shachris and mincha. Shachris is keneged the tamid shel shachar, and mincha is keneged the tamid shel ben arbaim. The pasuk says, "Zehu isha asher takrivu l'Hashem." This is the karma that you should be makriv to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kvosim b'nei shana tmimim. Shnaim layom or l'samid. Two sheep b'nei shana, a year old tmimim without a mum. Two for each day or l'samid. As a keves echo tasa b'boker, one sheep you'll be makriv in the morning. As a keves hasheni tasa ben arbaim, and the second sheep you'll be makriv in the evening, which is mincha time. And any day that there's a karban musaf, like Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, or Yantiv. So there's another tefillah, tefillas musaf, so which is keneged the karban musaf. And then Ma'ariv is keneged the evarim of the tamid shel ben harbayim, which sit on the mizbeach and burn throughout the night, like the pasuk says, "Hi ha'ola al moikta al mizbeach kol halayla ad haboker." Like the pasuk. So the idea is over here that the Ma'ariv is connected the evarim of the karban tamid shel ben harbayim, or the truth of the matter is any of the other karbanos that were still on the mizbeach and would burn throughout the night. Very interesting. We know from the Gemara, Avram Avinu was Mesaken Shacharis, Yitzchak Avinu was Mesaken Mincha, Yaakov Avinu was Mesaken Ma'ariv, and Yosef and Musaf obviously sounds similar enough. Yosef was Mesaken Musaf. Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, interestingly enough, was the Chidah speaks out was Mesaken Al Yidei Rachel, because Rachel has to do with the Levana, which has to do with Rosh Chodesh. To get a little Tifra, has to do with the Midah of Malchus. And we start off Musaf by saying Rosh Chodoshim La'amcha is Rosh Tevis Rachel. That's what Rachel has to do with it. Without getting into the arichas of this right now, but that's a little bit about the Avos and their role in the Tefillah. Pasuk says in Tehillim, Erev Avaykar Tzaharayim Asicha Ve'em Evayishma Kaili. Then in the evening, in the morning, and in the afternoon, I speak out and I call out, and my voice is heard. So, Kum Tais Nimtzu Atfilis Bechal Yom Shalosh. Yeah, every day you have 3 tefillas, starting from the evening, meaning starting from the night. You have Arvis, you have Shachris, and you have Mincha. On Shabbos and Yom Tov and Rosh Chodesh, you have 4 tefillas. You have the 3 of every day, and you have the tefillas HaMusaf. Now, there's one time a year where we daven 5 tefillas, and that would be on Yom Kippur. We were Ma'asev Ne'ilah as well. Now, when there was a tainus, in the times of the Gemara, when they would make it, when they were geyser a tainus, they would take their own kodesh into the town square of Chulu, as the Mishnayos and the Gemara speak out of the tainus. They would add a lot of brachas to the Shemoneh Esrei, and it could be there was also an additional ne'ilah. There's a Tosefta here that says, so this Mishnah that we're going to see now in Mishnah Aleph, Perek Daled Mishnah Aleph, is going to discuss the different zmanim of tefillah. And the Tosefta says, "Kishem shenosno Torah keva lukres shema, kach nosu chacham keva l'tefillah." Just like the Torah gave a specific time when to say Shema, the Chachamim gave a specific time when we should daven. So Tfilas HaShachar, which is the Shemoneh Esrei of Shacharis, ad Chatzos, is till Chatzos. The beginning, the earliest time we could daven Shacharis is Mishaheir Pnei HaMizrach, which is after Netz, like we explained, like the Minhag of Asikin and the Gemara Darshans on the Tesam and Veis, that is Yiru'ucha Im Shemesh right by Vasikin. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad Arba Shois. You have 4 hours from when the day starts. Again, obviously Shois Maniyos, which is at the end till the end of the 4th hour of the day. really the Gemara has a question if it's ad bichlal or ad v'lo ad bichlal. Is it counting the fourth hour? Is it into the fourth hour? Is it the beginning of the fourth hour or the end of the fourth hour? The Gemara, the Brisa explains in the Gemara on Daf Chavav that Tfilas HaShachar, Shachris, is connected the Karban Tamid Shel Shachar. So the Tanakama holds that the Tamid Shel Shachar, you're able to be Makabin until Chatzos. Therefore, you could daven Shachris until Chatzos. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the Karban Tamid Shel Shachar was only brought till the end of the fourth hour. So, being that it was only till the end of the fourth hour, that's the only time that you could daven until the end of the fourth hour. And the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that you could only daven until the fourth hour. Tfilas HaMincha is Ada Erev, which is until Shkia, or until nightfall. The one who says till Shkia, that you can't have Mincha past Shkia, is the Levush. Other places can hold you have more time after that. Without getting into that now. Again, the Tfilas HaMincha was Nikva, the Kvius. They set the time of Mincha for the time of when they would bring the Tam Shel Ben Arbayim. And because the Tamid was always brought at the 9.5 hour point during the day, the Chacham were Masakin to daven Mincha 9.5 hours into the day. And that's what's called Mincha Ketana. And some years when Erev Pesach would fall out on Erev Shabbos, they would have to shecht the Tamid earlier, in 6.5 hours in the day. So they said that anybody who davens Mincha after 6.5 hours during the day, he's Yaitse. And the chiyuv of Mincha, the chiyuv of Tfilas Mincha starts at that time, 6.5 hours into the day, and that's what's called Mincha Gedolah. So Kum Tois, that Zman Mincha Gedolah is 6.5 hours into the day, and Zman Mincha Ketana is 9.5 hours into the day until the evening, till the Erev, which for all practical purposes we'll say is Shkia. The Ravada is Makom to daven after Shkia. The Ramah says clearly that you could daven 70 minutes after Shkia, which an hour after Shkia, more or less, it's for sure dark by all means. There may still be like on the horizon a tiny little bit of light still sticking out, so then you could still daven. But once that little bit of light goes away, so then probably you will not be able to daven Mincha anymore, according to the Ramah. Obviously, this is what the 70 minutes that the Ramah is talking about. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ad Plaga Mincha. Rabbi Yehuda says you can only daven Mincha until Plaga Mincha. What's Plaga Mincha? Plag means half, until half the time of Mincha, which means the Zman of Mincha starts from 9.5 hours into the day. So that means that there's 2.5 hours left till it's nighttime. Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's halfway through these 2.5 hours, which is an hour and a quarter. So let's say you have a very long day in Tammuz in the summer, and the Alois HaShachar is, let's say, at 2 or 3, and Tzeisak Yechavim is at 8. So the day would be 18 hours long. So the Shos Zmanis of that day is going to be on our clock about a 90-minute hour. So the afternoon time, the halfway point, is going to be at 11. So Tfilas HaShachar, according to Yehuda, is going to be until 8 o'clock, which is a third of the day. And Mincha Gedolah is going to be at 12 o'clock, minus a quarter, which would mean 11:45. And Zman Mincha Ketana would be from 4:15 until the evening, according to the Tanakama, and according to Yehuda, from until the 6 hour and 8 minutes, because that's when it's going to be half of the from the 9.5 hours until the end of the day. Why is this tefillah called Mincha? So Ramban writes that it's Miloshan Menucha, because it's right before the sun sets, right before the Menuchas Hashemesh. And the Gra says that the reason why it's called Mincha is because this carbon was brought by the Shas Minchas Hatamid of the Tam Shel Ben Arbayim, because the Iker Hakravas Hatamid is from 8.5 until 9.5 hours, and from 9.5 hours, that's when the Hakravas Hamincha starts from the Tamid. And the reason why Shachar starts when it starts is because that's when if it gets light outside, because that's when you have the Shchitas Hatamid. And Tfilas Hamincha, they were kiveya it when they would bring the mincha, when they would do the hakravas hamincha, and not the shchitas hamincha, and not the shchitas hatamid in the afternoon, because the pasuk says Yeru'uchem shemesh, that could be referring to shacharis and mincha. So in the morning, they would need to do it as early as they could, kedei that it should be with the shemesh. So that's why they were keveya the tefillah bisman shchitas hatamid. So then, that's the earliest that you could be marked of the tamid. But in the evening, that you have to push it off whatever you can, that it should be im shemesh, meaning when the sun's going down. So that's why it's bisman hakravas hamincha, which is the end of the time of the tamid, not at the beginning of the time of bringing the tamid. And the Gemara says in Brachos on the Vav Amud Beis, La'olam yehei adam zoyer b'tfilas hamincha. A person should be extra careful with tfilas mincha. Sharei Eliyahu le'nena ela b'tfilas hamincha. Eliyahu was only answered by tfilas mincha. Shenemar, the pasuk says in Malachim, Vayehi ba'alois hamincha v'yigash Eliyahu hanavi v'yoymar. And by the story with the Nevi'ei Habal, Eliyahu bar Carmel, he got answered, Aneni sheterid eish min hashemayim. That happened by tfilas mincha. Kiyadua, the famous word from the Baal Shem Tov, that the person is busy with all his mundane activities, and he's all, fatracht, and how he's going to bring parnasa for his children, and he realizes that he's got only a couple of minutes left, and he starts getting a little nervous. Was vet zayin? I have to daven mincha, and then he goes and that cry pierces the heavens, says the Baal Shem Tov. That's the cry of an Erlich Yid going to do the Ratzon Hashem. Tfilas Erev ein lekeva, Tfilas Ma'ariv doesn't have as man kavua. You could daven the entire night. Why? Because it's connected the bringing of the Evarim and the Ptarim, the fats, that you were marked the whole night. But there's another understanding, there's an additional, we can add to the understanding of ein lekeva, that the Chachamim did not make it a chiyuv as much as Shachris and Mincha is a chiyuv. It's a tfilas reshus. Taisus on Daf Chavav Amud Beis explains that tfilas arvis reshus doesn't mean that it's an optional tefillah, that if I want I do it and if I don't want I don't do it. But what it means is that if I'm busy with the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuyim or something like that, I'm Isaac b'mitzvah, so therefore I didn't get a chance to be Mekayim, the mitzvah of Tfilas Ma'ariv, I don't have to repeat it. I don't have to do Tashlumim. But the Rambam says in Chos Tfilah, V'afal pikein noagu kol Yisrael b'chol mekaymes moishveiseim l'spalel arvis v'keblua aleim ketfilas chayva. That even though that it's a reshus, but already we see that Klal Yisrael was mekabel on themselves wherever they are, b'chol mekaymes moishveiseim, to daven Ma'ariv, and they were mekabel on themselves as if it was a chayva. So being they were already mekabel on themselves that it was a chayva, so now it has a din of a chayva. B'shal musafin kalayet. Tfilas musaf is the whole day, because the karban musaf is any time from after the time shel shachar, they would bring the karban musaf. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shav Hashois, 7 hours into the day, which is until an hour after chatzos, that's when they would bring the karban musaf. Obviously, lechatchila we try to do like Rabbi Yehuda. On one day you could do like Rabbi Yehuda, the next day you could do like the Chachamim. It's a very interesting shmuz in the Paiskim. Mirz Hashem will get to discuss it at a later date. But it's interesting because in the Gemara we do find that there were times when they daven Shachris, they would go home, have their Suda, and then they would come back and daven Musaf later. Every Kehillah does differently. Some people have a break, some people don't have a break, whatever it is. But the point is that we, for the most part, daven Musaf together with Shachris Ad Kan Hamaisa.